Hello? I was told this is where we were supposed to meet up for an interview. So I'm just gonna.
Wanderer, shade canary, in covering of the other one. Speak your name and we shall begin.
Uh, uh, Koiren. I think.
Now that we've exchanged awkward pleasantries.
Let's start. Welcome to Geeks and Gabbers.
So what are we gonna talk about? No one gave me like a discussion topic or anything.
So, who you is, where you from, and what the hell do you do in the moments between your waning existence and the conundrum of your minuscule drift in this uncaring universe?
Wow, starting off real strong, aren't we? Hi, I'm Koiren. I have like a YouTube channel. It's like over there, by the side of the street. I usually
collecting coins. Just like, have a channel, but please give me content views.
Spare change, please. Spare change. I normally do like gameplay videos, like let's play videos of your usual like horror RPG maker games. Like I'm doing like Mad Father right now. I think I'm doing like 1-Bit Heart. I think maybe I don't know. I'm also doing like some visual novels like Danganronpa, Ace Attorney, stuff like that. But I also do horror reading as well as just like some like character analyses videos when I feel like it. So yeah, that's a general thing of like what I also stream. I forgot that I do that.
Hey, I don't care. Hey, I don't care.
One aspect of my content creation I just forgot entirely.
Yeah. Like I just do it like in passing. It's just kind of like rotting on the side. Yeah, I stream. I completely forgot to do that. Yeah.
I'll feed it after.
Yeah.
All right. So in case you didn't know, the name's Boss. Started content creation. Got some projects on the side. One who I'm trying to revive with the dead stick. With a fundraiser.
Just
and
like
the other
around.
Come on, do stuff. And of course, I do boss plays on the isekaiexplorers channel. And of course, we get some cameos by people you may know and people you may have heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're starting this new series, Geeks and Gabbers. So where everyone can talk at whatever they want about for who knows how long. But usually not long enough where you'll just fall asleep like it's an ASMR video. But enough talk! Because that's the sound of another damned soul who died at a distant hill in defense of their waifu. So it's time for you to gab about whatever the hell you care about. So spill the beans.
Yeah.
What the hell is... And then let me see if I'm saying this correctly. What did you put on this time slab?
I don't think it's that hard to like pronounce. I think it's hello Charlotte. It's a game.
So it's like Hello Dolly. Is this it's a game. Oh, I thought it was a musical, like sequel to Hello Dolly. But it's like Hello Charlotte. Charlotte's long lost daughter in the distance.
Just kind of like, hello. But yeah, it's a game series. It's a 5 game series.
Mhm.
Wow, I did not think I'd be saying the word game this much. It's pretty
game.
game. It's a pretty rough series if you're not in a mentally good place.
And how rough we talking? Are we talking like Transformers original movie rough? Or like
I wouldn't go that rough. I wouldn't go that hard. Yeah, but it's pretty rough. It touches on like some pretty adult themes, and by adult themes, I mean like it'll really make you question a lot about your existence as a person.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of like whenever I make people play this game, whenever I tell people like, come on, I swear, like play this game, it's a great series. I really need to like hard sell it because the first game is such a hard game to get through because it literally like drops you in the middle of a premise. Like it doesn't give you like any soft intro at all. It doesn't give you like, oh hi, this is what you are, this is who you are. It's literally just like, bam. You're this thing, like, okay.
Do you even know who you are? You just wake up on the floor and you're just like, who am I? What am I?
Who am I?
Why is my dialogue in text boxes?
I'm not even kidding you. That's kind of how it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It's literally like, hey, okay, I'll get a little bit into like the first game, like what the first game is about. It literally drops you like, hey, your name is Seth. You're controlling like a little girl. Make sure she doesn't die.
Oh,
And like,
alright.
yeah, it's literally just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this now. No, nothing about the world, nothing about who I am. No, it's literally just like, oh, okay, cool.
So you're just like walking up in this void, and this random dude just like, here, take care of this young 7-year-old child. All right, don't try to kill her or anything. All right, bye.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally what the entire premise of the game is. Also, excuse you, she's 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
She's
a clear
12.
distinction.
She's a preteen. She's a prime time Disney Channel.
Exactly, and that's exactly when most of our existential dread starts.
Oh, well, we're just getting right into it.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of just because a lot of it is like, oh, okay, make sure she doesn't die, but she has a clear. It's not that she has a clear understanding, but you start to learn throughout as you go through the first game, where it's like, oh, okay, she starts to understand that she technically can't die.
Oh.
That like every time that she dies, it resets your save, and she starts to understand that.
Oh, there's like a little dialogue box that's like, whoop, I thought I died through a sledgehammer. Oh, wait a minute, I thought I died just jumping through the pool. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I choked on a burger.
Yep, pretty much. And it's so stupid because it's like, I'm talking about like something that I love, right? But it's like, oh, it's so stupid.
Listen, if you can't critique something you love, why can you? Can you even love that thing at all? If you can't be
That's
like,
true, that's true.
Why are you the way that you are?
Absolutely, right? But it really is just like the first game, like the start of the first game is really like, hey, you're gonna die to a lot of stupid stuff. It's gonna do this RPG Maker thing where like you are literally a little girl inside a house that you know nothing about, and you're just gonna die a bunch of times, right? And that's why
I wanted to talk about something. What is this RPG Maker you keep talking about?
Oh,
Because
sorry.
I'm a dummy and I don't know what it is.
Okay, RPG Makers is basically it's this software, right? That most people like make these like little 1632-bit games on, and they're usually have these like the most common thing with them is that like they're horror games. So that's why.
That's the main appeal of like those like people who make those games in particular.
Yeah. Usually they make like horror games. Some popular games would probably be like Ao Oni, Eve, some other games from 2004. Right?
The prime era of MySpace.
Yeah, right. Not MySpace, but yeah. This game, is hard to get into because of that reasoning, right? But it gets a lot more interesting as you go on, because like as you keep dying, you basically find out more lore about like the world that you're living in, right? So if you can get past the whole like wow, I'm gonna die like 87 times for the nth stupid reason, you eventually get to learn more about like, who is Charlotte and why is she mentally ill? I'm trying to figure out why she's having a hard time when I can't even figure that out myself, right? But
So you're learning at the same time as the character you're playing.
yeah, pretty much. But it also has this weird thing where it's like, you're not Charlotte. You're not playing as Charlotte. You're playing as somebody who's controlling Charlotte. Yeah. So yeah. And you're called a puppeteer. You're named Seth, and it's this entire thing where it's just like this weird breaking the fourth wall, but not really, because the fourth wall is still part of the world.
So it's a soft like bang instead of a break.
Yeah, it's like a soft knock on like the wall, right?
You're tapping on the goldfish like bowl, and you're just like, "I'm here. I can see you."
Yeah, a little bit.
I see.
But yeah, but of course, like any like good first game, I guess, since like this is probably like planned up for a series, they kind of cut you off with like, of course, what do you call those where you're hanging off it's called a cliffhanger. Yeah.
So like, you know the thing where you hang off a cliff, but it's like used for a story?
yeah, those things. Completely forgot what they're called, even though I used both words.
Don't worry, I mix up words all the time.
Yeah. They end you on a cliffhanger where it's like, basically, I mean, spoilers, I guess. Look, I'm talking about the goddamn game, right?
I mean,
Like,
let's do like a general like overview before we go into any spoiler talks. Like,
okay.
Yeah, because if we're gonna like, I don't really mind since I haven't played this game, and like I don't know. Hopefully I will when I get a PC that can play it, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, wait, like you don't really like mind spoilers?
Not particularly, because usually the way my brain works is that we'll have conversations about something, unless it's something I really care about, I'll usually forget it in the next day. So like,
wow,
I'm
thanks
the best secret
for
keeper.
telling me that like you care about what I'm talking right now.
No. Like I remember we'll have the conversation. It's just that my brain will keep it so secret that even I will forget that we even had the conversation.
Right, because you care about it like so much. You know?
Yeah, totally. I'm not just on my side like updating my Tumblr. Like, ooh, that's nice.
Oh, because you mentioned Tumblr, that's actually one of the things that like I really love about this game is that the art style is gorgeous whenever there's like CGs. Yeah. Because a majority of this game is pixel art, right? But when it gets to like the sprite, the talking sprites, and if it gets to like any CGs that you need to like see, any like, because they're not really like cutscenes because they're literally just like a still photo.
Right.
That's
all
like,
the memory the game could handle.
Yeah, look, okay, like we're not dealing with like Picasso here, okay? Wait,
Listen,
what?
If Picasso could make a dating sim, I think that'd be a bestseller.
That's true. I'm like thinking about like what Picasso pieces I know, and I'm running on blanks. Anyway,
No worries.
most of like the art that's done for like the series is like hand drawn, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and that's why I'm like, honestly, this game series literally made me like a fan of the game developer. So I'm just like following literally like what they do.
But in a respectful fan way, not in the bushes with the goggles and Back to the Future 1 kind of way.
How'd you know? Yeah. Of course. It's more of just like retweeting like whatever they turn out, and just like consuming like, because they recently came out with another game, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play that soon.
Do they usually do like horror type of games, or is it like, it does depend on like what story they're trying to tell? Because I know some creators will try to go out of their box, but it depends on the creator also.
They usually like it's not really like horror per se, It's more like existential and societal commentary.
Oh, I mean, it's pretty scary. Yeah, like
Yeah, like having to face like the reality of our society. Like, whoa, there.
I need to find that genre in the GameStop and be like, existential horror society. And I can't find that aisle.
Like, yeah, I'm a bit sorry about that. Okay, like I'm gonna check it on Steam real quick about like what the actual genres of this game.
I mean, to be honest, like you're selling me on that's an actual genre.
Yeah, right. It's just like, oh, okay.
We could put Undertale, Doki Doki on there.
Oh my gosh, Doki Doki. Oh, okay. So, like the tags that are used for this game, at least like popular tags, are like gore, indie, violent, story-rich, RPG, and horror. So that's great.
I mean, that pretty much sums it up, I think.
Yeah, that sums up like society, right?
Yeah, society. We live in a society. Does that statement truer than now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anyway. Well, but I think that's the sound of a fan finding out their favorite artist got canceled on social media. So it's time for the next question.
You're leaving Geeks and Gabbers. We'll be right back. Greetings, patron. Back to Geeks and Gabbers.
Why is this insignificant thing important to you? And why do you think other people will find it important as well? Yeah, man,
Like-
I'm a hard-hitting game journalist, you know,
Yeah,
IGN, like Clad. I hit the hard questions.
I like how IGN is like, oh yeah, the hard-hitting game journalist.
6 out of 10, too much water.
Oh no. I'm like, why is this insignificant thing important to me? It's important to me because it's literally one of the games that made me think. You know?
You just never thought
Yeah,
before. You were just a mindless drone, just like eat chips, drink water, hopefully go to the bathroom.
Hopefully.
I mean,
If it just
everyone
doesn't
has-
like spill on the floor.
I mean, some people just have those days.
Yeah, you know, I'm sorry, I don't really have like a gamer bottle beside me. Yeah. But I think, yeah, this is one of the games that like really made me, because I love games that make me think, right? And this is one of the, well, I wouldn't say like one of the first games, but like this is one of the games that I played on like my channel that made me actually have long ass paragraph debates about in my comment section.
Wow.
Like, yeah, they're literally, people would post paragraphs about about like what they thought happened in the episode, and it's just like, it's like I would just say like, that's interesting because I think that this entire thing that happened in the second game is an analogy for this, and because the game really like lets you deep dive on like what I think the creator thinks about society and about like what they think about like people in like the capitalist machine, people in like how art is perceived in society, like people becoming like these faceless, mindless NPCs when they're completely like consumed by our society. Stuff like that. Very fun things to put inside inside a game.
I mean, you just gotta look at the
Yeah.
Wachowski sisters. They went full Matrix.
Oh, that's true. Absolutely.
I mean, like when I hear like behind the scenes stuff, and they go like, "Okay, so every one of you has to read this book called Simulacra." And it's just-
Oh my god.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I was gonna say like, sometimes that type of dedication to and like deep thought can make a game or property or whatever like super intriguing, but also you gotta find that balance between intriguing to yourself and intriguing to the audience you're trying to explain this message or the message you want to convey. So it's really interesting that you found that in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of why, like, I say, like, I hard sell it because it's so hard to get into, right? Because it's sometimes it's like really so deep. The first game talks about like it sells you this small little premise about like gods creating like a tiny little society that they have, and eventually like these people would create more things, like smaller things that would also like consist of a society. So it's like the small people that the gods created becoming their own kinds of gods, and essentially them like warring on each other because of like how far have we gone in like society, right? And the things that like we create. And I think that's like that kind of like interested me in the sense of like, oh, I thought we were just inside of a little TV world. Why are we talking about gods here? You know?
I'm just trying to watch SpongeBob, and I have this rings with eyes just like circling me, like, hello, we have a
right,
too.
Right? It's just like I thought we were having like I thought there were teddy bears in here. Why is there like a biblically accurate angel like in front of me? Right, but it's like it also in the first game they also talk about like a common theme throughout the game would be this little story inside it called the Tale of the Ink Princess, right? And it talks about this ink princess who is basically wearing all black, and she goes through the paper kingdom and she taints everything that she touches, even though that she doesn't know that she's tainting and destroying everything. And then she eventually gets like locked up by the paper princess, and you're kind of, and it cuts off there, and like it lets you figure out like for yourself like what the ending is supposed to be, because in the first game, right, Charlotte, you see her, she's all white. She's basically like all white.
Do you want to get into spoilers now that we've gotten past the first part?
I mean, I guess so, because
or do you want to like just keep it vague?
I can keep it like a little vague, yeah.
All right, yeah. But slight spoilers, you know, for those intuitive people out there.
Yeah, people who like actually like wanna experience like the game for themselves, or like
we'll put a time code right here, and then,
and then you know, if you want to watch like my playthrough on it.
Oh yeah, well, you can just plug your playthrough right there. Put on the side. Please, senpai.
But yeah, and then like later on inside like the game, she meets somebody who's very important but is wearing like all black, right? Yeah, so it kind of like lets you think back on like the Ink Princess story about like how are you gonna deal with this person? How do you perceive this person now that like you were able to see that story, right? And so it's really cool because like when it gets to like the second game, it touches like a little bit more about that, because it kind of takes in the point of like, what is Charlotte's life now that this person that's wearing all black is part of her life? And then she starts meeting more people who are like their main color motif is like black, right?
So color theory is like a big part of the characters, not only their stories, but their like design choices and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And one thing that's like really interesting about the game is like the game series, like as much as it does take into account like the colors and like like society and how the people that you meet like will affect you and like the things around you, there's also the point that like in the games, as you keep going forward, the Charlottes that you control are like different Charlottes. Yeah, you eventually learn that like, these are different Charlottes, different timelines, different things that like, it gets really like deep in on itself, because it's like, you're in a world that's in a world that's in a world, and it's like, God fucking damn it, I'm losing track of all of these people.
You're like, I just thought like Charlotte number 87 was talking to Charlotte 42, and I don't want them talking to Charlotte 29.
Okay, you joke about like, Charlotte 22, Charlotte 29. They're literally like, okay, I'm literally like gonna drop you like names. There's Charlotte V19, there's Charlotte Q84. It's so convoluted. It's so stupid, but like I love it so much.
Yes, the more complicated, the more I thrive.
It's really just like that, and it's just like, the timelines, it's because like they start touching on like, oh, you're in the world of like Charlotte, and then suddenly it goes to black, and then it touches on like the world outside of Charlotte. And it's just like, wait, where are we? I'm like, I was happy with this like 12-year-old girl. Wait, no, that sounds weird. Shit. I was gonna say, I was just happy with controlling this. This is a hard series to talk about. Okay, I was happy with
the first part of the first story.
Yeah, the first part of the story.
You see?
But now you're giving me this other part that's very mentally challenging. But yeah. Yeah.
All right. So you hear that sound?
Yeah.
That's the sound of my dog trying to go poop. So I shall come back.
Okay. All right.
Hey, we'll be right back after a short break. Yo, you're watching Geeks and Gabbers.
I just realized something like while we were on that break. I don't think I really did give a general overview of what the this series is about.
I mean, do you really want to know the in-depths? Because I feel like the more confusing like your synopsis is, the more people will be intrigued.
Yeah, just like.
But then again, for people who are like, I need something to focus on, so they need a guiding light, a green light in the distance. It's up to you. You're the gabber here.
Okay.
I can only interrupt you when the show calls for it. But any other time, it's your show.
Oh, jeez, that
to an extent.
Like to an extent. Like, let's not get crazy here. Okay. I guess like just a general like overview about like what this series would be really about is just like it's about you. Since like they tell this to you like in the first game, like right off the bat, you take control of a person named Seth who is controlling a 12-year-old girl named Charlotte. And your job, like as I said, was to make sure that Charlotte doesn't die and that Charlotte keeps going and is safe. That is the general premise of like what the first game is about. And a lot of like the second game and the third game are basically kind of continuations in the story about what happened, right? And it's kind of it gets like crazier and crazier as it goes through, because it gets, as you kind of like play through the game, you kind of realize that it's a lot of the game is a lot of the author's thoughts, which is really hard.
Because it's kind of like hard to keep track of, or because
it's not that like it's
hard to gauge.
It's hard to swallow.
Yeah, so it's like very like blunt and just like straight to the point.
Yeah.
That harsh hitting, like an orange is not actually an orange. We just call it that because it's the color of the fruit.
Yeah.
So what was the original color?
Yeah. Literally, I believe. Okay, because these games have like subtitles, right? Like they have also another title to them. So literally the first game is called wait, if I can like look for it, right? The first game is called like Junk Food, Gods, and Teddy Bears, right? Because right? It's this we already have like a preview of the gods from like earlier, right? Junk food and teddy bears is just I don't know, it's really casual, right?
Yeah, compared to what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh, okay, cool. Right? It gives you like,
it seems simple.
Yeah, it gives you like, some like puzzles, some easy to digest stuff, and then it gets a lot heavier like near the ending. And that's how they hook you, right? That's when they clutch you by the collar and like,
you will consume all of this like our content.
But consume product, do not think.
Yeah. Consume product, do not think, right? Because when you get to episode 2, the subtitle of episode 2 is Requiem Aeternam Deo.
We're breaking out the Latin.
Yeah.
Carpe dem diems.
Yeah, right. It's just like, I don't know what that means. Yeah. But literally what that means is like an eternal rest to God, right? It's just like, oh, okay, we're killing gods now.
I mean, is it really an RPG if you haven't killed some god?
Oh, that's true. Like the level 100 ending where you kill God.
You're just like, no, or like, unless you're Kratos, then you say God every time.
Right.
It's like, there goes the god of financing.
God.
Greek's economy's doomed.
Yeah, well. But yeah. And then it's just like when you reach like the third game, because a lot of like, episode 1 has like this yellow color motif. Episode 2 has this like, also like a little bit of that like, it gets darker, because literally that's when the black and the red tones come out. And then like episode 3, like Hello Charlotte episode 3 is literally called Childhood's End. And
oh, how delightful.
Yeah, right? It's just like, wow! Well, we're in society now.
This is true. Like I'm getting away with the metaphors. There's no lollipops. This is what's really happening in the world,
right?
And you should not be happy about it.
It really is. Like I remember seeing this like, those like iceberg memes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of those, and like at the very bottom of it is just like, because the name of the game developer is Aeternam, right? Aeternam, like ether, and then
ether.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
got it.
like, when at the very bottom of like the iceberg is literally like Aeternam hates you. And it's just
is a really complicated and expensive like way to say they just don't like people.
Yeah,
they just don't like
it's
it.
just like, well, okay, like hit the road, kid. Get out of here.
I got your money. That's all you're good for.
Yeah. No, it's because like when you reach like the third game, because the first game touches upon like stuff like mental illness, right? Stuff it touches lightly upon that, and then the second game touches upon like heavier stuff about mental illness and like capitalism and like how society wants you to act. And then the third game starts touching upon like, how are you so sure that the media that you're consuming and that like the game that you're playing right now is actually good for you? Like, yeah, it starts touching on like those fourth wall breaks where it's just like, why are you consuming this? Why'd you
even pay for this?
Yeah, like, why are you here? Stop consuming this. And it's just like that like completely like crossed my mind, because I was so that like completely escaped my mind because I was so focused on like the metaphors on the second game about how like it touches on society, because I was so enamored by like how it talks about like how society wants you to act, because they have this really clever thing about a little like small spoilery kind of thing, but when you get out of like the main place that you've been staying in throughout like the past 2 games, you get out into like the quote unquote like real world, right?
Oh.
Yeah. And they have this like religious building which is literally the bank. Right? And like you're not allowed anywhere else unless you have money,
So it's like a Mary Poppins poem was like, save your tuppence here.
Yeah, right? Pretty much.
That's the most important thing.
And that's why it's like I was so enamored by that, and it's so easy, I think, to like at least for me, right? I was so enamored by everything, and it's because like the third game gets really, really deep in the sense that like it starts talking about, I think, Aeternam's like thoughts about getting popular because of Hello Charlotte. It's like that whole point of just like, am I happy being known as like the author of this story? Because it's
You think they were having like a conversation with the audience with each release where it's like, and maybe like each game or chapter was like an answer to perhaps like they wanted to, or a message they wanted to release. So the first one's like, hey, this is a happy, like of course they had like, you know, the deeper plots that they wanted like to convey, but maybe they're like, the first one's like, you know, everything's lucky because like this is my creation, I just wanted it out there, I hope you all enjoy it. Maybe the second one, I don't know, maybe it gets deeper, where it's like now they've achieved some sort of level of fame, so maybe they start going into deeper topics. And then the third one, of course, it's like, okay, you know what I'm about, you know, like my process, this is what I really mean, because like, you know, like the point of like stories and games is like it draws you in, so you get to the deeper message of like, and like any piece, like any music, movie, whatever, and like as you're enraptured by this world, you get more into the thought process of the creator and the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm gathering from what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like, right, like I can really only speculate. Like,
oh no, of course,
yeah.
like, this is all speculation. I mean, we don't know this person.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know. This is all from surface level knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is just like, because when you mention that, like, oh, it's a conversation with the audience, they literally have portions wherein Charlotte talks straight to the camera, you know, and she literally like acknowledges the audience, like, are you happy with this game that you're playing? Like, are you really, like, you know, it's stuff like that. And it's this really like fourth wall breaking stuff that got me like so like encapsulated in this world, but at the same time it made me feel like kind of bad. You know, it's just like well, I like, is this really like, what is the author like trying to say anymore, you know? But in that sense, like, because there are cases like, okay, like to get like a little bit on the adult side, there's instances where Charlotte, as well as like some other characters in this series, talks about like how other people in the outside world create like adult things, like NSFW things, possibly about the characters in the game, you know? And it's like,
I see that.
yeah, and it's just like, I'm like, are you okay with that even though I'm not okay with that? That kind of like questioning, yeah. And
it's like reflecting it back on someone you think wouldn't be able to like talk back about those type of subjects.
Yeah. And it's just this really interesting point, because like, as much as it still does talk about like here is like, it kind of gets sad in the sense that like, here are like all of my thoughts in display, here is like my psychology in display, here's like my thought process on making things. Like, are you happy seeing this? Like, are you happy seeing like the mess, or just like, are you happy seeing like everything that I'm going through and all of the thoughts that I've been in, even though I'm not in the best place? It's stuff like that that makes like me think that is just like, it's such a great piece of just like storytelling.
Because it like encapsulates the interactivity of a video game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're watching a movie, it's like, you know, like if there was a meta aspect to it, to just be like judging you, like, why are you watching this? Like, you know, are you just enjoying me suffer? But since you're taking a direct action, like, towards that character in this world, you feel more involved and you feel more responsible for the actions you've taken as this character or controlling that character.
Yeah.
So that creator does like use that aspect of games to enhance the story. Or make you more depressed. Depending on how you feel about it.
Yeah. It's a lot of like, as much as like, I feel like I want to recommend this game to people, right? Like I was recommending this game, like even though when I still haven't like finished the third game and stuff like that, like even when I was still going through like the second game, because like I really was just like so enamored by like the storytelling and like how deep it is. But I kind of feel bad because it's just like, because of like what the third game is saying, of just like, here is like me, and I'm a mess when I made this. I was not in a good state. Do you feel okay now that this is out? And it's just like, fuck, man, I'm sorry. Like,
I just want to enjoy your story.
Yeah, like you had like a really good story, and it's just I just thought it's really interesting, and especially because like this, I mean, of course, like I'm sure like you've done some background about it, about some of the games, and like seeing about how this game can get into some heavy self-harm, right?
Yeah, that's what I've come across
Yeah.
when I was doing my own research.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like,
What do you mean? I don't care about this game. That's crazy.
that's crazy. Like what? Everything's kept a secret.
Yeah. I don't even remember. What were we talking about?
I don't even know. But it's just like the way, and especially like with the amount of like self-harm and like self-pity that's like put in this game, it makes you think about just like, for a person to like write this kind of stuff, this person didn't have to be like, this person I have a hard time finding out that like they were not in a good place, because it's like, fuck, like is this coming from a place of like experience? Like it's just like it makes me feel so bad, but at the same time like it's that conflict, you know, like I want people to know about this amazing piece of art that like I got to experience, this like amazing like experience for them to internalize, but at the same time I feel bad about it because I'm basically exposing this other person's like hardships and rough psychology that they've gone through. And I just don't feel morally right about that. But here I am, right, talking about it.
But that also begs the question of like how good that piece is, because you're here deeply affected by a piece of that specific art. So like if they really didn't want to have some part of that story out there, they'd just take the game down or just like apologize and continue making other stuff they feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So at that point in their lives, they must have felt, yes, perhaps, you know, this is all speculation, that they did feel that horrible. They wrote from some piece of them, like whatever part of them, felt that actual way, and so they wanted to convey it through the game, which is a perfect vehicle for it.
Yeah. And
like that's the reason stories are made, to, you know, have to explain these topics, whether very sensitive or, you know, happy-go-lucky as eating a sandwich. Like it's in this like story. So that's what makes this like game, that interactivity, beautiful, but also just as thought-provoking as well. So like,
damn, that makes me feel a whole lot better about this.
Yeah, I know. So it, like, you know, you really I know, like it's like it probably hit you like the first time you played through it, and like I think that was their point, like, you know, makes you think about life in general. So I think that's what they were just making you do, make you think.
Yeah.
Like side tangent, that reminds me of do you know, I don't know if you read Japanese comic books or manga. So I've been reading what's her name? Was it Chainsaw Man?
Oh, I haven't like
I also
gotten into Chainsaw Man, but I wanna. But like, go ahead.
Oh yeah, but this isn't like spoilers about that series, but that particular artist makes one shots, which are like short stories, like manga short stories, and they have one where it's like they have two stories. One where it's like exploring the deeper meanings of stories through like a protagonist, about them releasing a short movie, and people like disgusted by what they were seeing, but one person is like really drawn to the conversation and message within that one film they made, and another story is about taking, you know, some stories at face value. And it's kind of that duality between the two pieces that are really interesting. It makes you think about, like, you know, sometimes it does have a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, and sometimes they just want to entertain you and, like, think about it for what it is at face value.
Yeah.
And so it really depends on the piece. So you really just have to be open minded about it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, because like I've been playing a lot of these like games, sometimes horror games, sometimes visual novels, right? And on the channel, and it's just like, because I've played Hello Charlotte, there was literally like a period in time where I was trying to like analyze things, but I needed to like get myself out of that perspective, because like sometimes it's literally just a game, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes Mario is just a plumber who just got sucked into this magical world.
Right? Like,
and so
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was just my point. Like, you know, sometimes it's just what it is. Like, you know, and sometimes it does have a deeper meaning, but you know, like, you know, it depends on the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
you can enjoy it for something what it is.
Like sometimes, like, literally, like I'm playing like Mad Father right now, and like, oh, I could think about like oh, how the father is an analogy for whatever is wrong with society. But like, honestly, I just find it better to just think about him as like this deranged murder man, you know? Like, I just think that's better and funnier. Well, not funnier. I get like real scared about it. But there's also like games such as are you familiar with like Yume Nikki?
Not here.
Don't say I am.
Yeah, that's okay. But like, Yume Nikki, to be translated in English, it's Dream Diary, where it's literally, it's kind of like Hello Charlotte, where it just drops you flat right in the middle of a premise, where you're like a girl inside of like an apartment, and you just go to sleep. And inside of these dreams, there's just like literal nonsense that's happening, but there's an ending to the game. You know, you can
also it's like Alice in Wonderland sort of. Like,
yeah, kind of like an
that type
Alice in
of,
Wonderland kind of thing. But like you like once you go to sleep, you're in like this hub of like 12 doors, and throughout like each door, you get to find like different things and different like premises to each world that don't make any sense. And your goal is to find like 24 eggs that change your appearance.
Okay.
And once you reach that, you get an ending. And it's just like, sometimes you can just take it as face value because it's literally just dreams, and dreams don't have to make sense, you know? But sometimes, but like, how I want to go about it is that like, well, dreams for people usually have something correlating to the real world. And why does...
Now that we're coming... Now that
yeah,
are coming out.
Right? And it's just like, why is like... the main character, why do they just go to sleep, you know, instead of like interacting with like the real world? So it's like this whole entire like message to the story that is never explicitly said, like throughout the game.
Right.
There's nothing literally in the game saying anything, but this game managed to like capture people's hearts because of how like, because it doesn't say anything about it. Like everything in this game is your experience, you know.
Trying to make it as unique as possible. It's kind of like if I were to tie it to a popular game, like it's like Breath of the Wild, or Skyrim, where every playthrough was unique and to that specific player.
Yeah.
And like their journey's their own, and then they'll go talk about it with their friends, and then like, you know, friends will tell them, and you know.
Absolutely, right? And I think that's kind of like the charm of like playing through these games too, as well as just like, well, you know, like watching Let's Plays and whatever, because it's like I do recommend people like play these games first, so that they experience it on their own, to be able to like gather their own like little to gather their
opinions.
own their opinions and stuff like that, because that's kind of like, because games are still stories, right? And like the whole death of the author thing, wherein like, oh, like they put that out, and like the meaning of the maker like somewhat loses meaning, because like to every person who plays it or sees it gets their own, right? But yeah,
they get their own like message, like maybe it's like not as apparent as like the creator wanted to be, or they want it to be as vague as possible and make the viewer or the player have their own experience. So
and
it could depend on the person.
Yeah, and like because every person and every viewer has like a different experience. I've had instances where like, oh, I was playing like either Yume Nikki or like Hello Charlotte, where like I pointed something out, and like people in the comments were like, oh, I didn't actually think about that, you know. So it's like an interesting like amalgamation of ideas that can be brought about when like you expose your idea into the world. So especially like games like Hello Charlotte that provoke thought from these like smaller and simpler games, it's really nice to see like because I don't know, like one of the characters, one of the black motif characters could literally be like a physical representation of depression, but I don't know that. That's just,
I'm just playing with the cute, colorful characters, going beep boop. Here's a cheeseburger.
Exactly right. Like, thanks for the fries, but it's unhealthy, so I'm gonna go throw it out, I guess. I don't know.
Now time to confront the literal examination of depression. Here we go.
Yeah, right? It's just like, oh, like every time I interact with this character, I'm falling apart. I wonder why that might be.
And that's all the time I've allowed myself to have. So now, I'm off to play Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch. Goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye to my guest, Koiren. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, good. That was it. You're just gonna play on. I guess I'll go now. I guess. Hello? Hello?
Oh, thank God. I thought I never
Okay.
All right, that's it.